Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas. Today we're here to start a new series on the Dell PowerEdge R230 server. In this video we're going to specifically focus on processors, but in the video series as a whole we're going to cover CPUs, memory, hard drives, solid state drives, the network cards inside, the RAID controller, supported operating systems, plus a ton more. So click that like and smash that subscribe. Let's get going. Hey, thanks for stopping by today. Just a little bit more about the Dell PowerEdge R230 server. Do us a favor, if you find anything that helps you in this video, click that like and smash that subscribe. All right, well, let's hop in. This video is going to be specifically dedicated to CPUs. As I mentioned in this video series, we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. But in this video, what we'll do is we'll go over the general specs. We'll talk about the compatible processors. We'll talk about which ones we recommend. We'll go over how to remove your old CPU and how to install a new one. So let's get into all the good stuff. All right, so there's one CPU inside. It's an LGA 1151 socket, which means it takes Intel Xeon E3 1200 V5 and V6 processors, and really that's what we'll focus on. There are some other compatible processors in the sense of there are some Intel Core i3 procs, some Celeron, some old Pentium. There's several other procs that are compatible, but most people that will be using this will be using the E3 1200 V5 or V6. The max cores will be quad core or 4 cores, and you can get 8 threads. So this is a little bit older machine since you can only get quad core CPUs. People ask all the time, hey, well, what CPUs do you recommend? And really that kind of depends on your application, your budget, all that good stuff. But we break it down into 3 categories. We have our low end, our value, and our high end. And really it's kind of self-explanatory. The low end is going to be your super budget-friendly, cheaper procs. Your value is going to be a nice little sweet spot, and then your high end is going to be the more expensive processors. And realistically, since this is an older machine, the processors as a whole have come way down in prices. So even the high end aren't that crazy expensive, and the high end almost are kind of the value right now. But let's go ahead and put up our chart. So if you look here, you'll see some V5s and some V6s. All these are great choices, and really, again, it depends on your budget. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email us or call us and ask us, a little bit more about what we would recommend for your specific project. But again, these are a bunch of great choices, and there's other good choices not on the list as well. All right, so now that we know a little bit more about our procs and some of the ones we recommend, let's go ahead and show you how to remove your old one and install a new one. But before we do, I'm going to grab my ESD gear and be right back. All right, I have my ESD gear on. We are safe to work on our machine. I always like to lay out everything we're going to need in advance. So first things first, here's the CPU we're going to be upgrading to. We're going to need our just regular old Phillips head screwdriver that we're going to use to take off the heatsink. We're going to need to clean the heatsink to remove all the old thermal paste. So here's just a nice clean rag. And then we're going to need thermal paste to add to our new CPU. So first things first, let's lift our latch, pop our top, and we are inside just like any server you've been in before.
Hey, it's Mason with Cloud Ninjas, and today I'm going to show you how to properly remove an old processor and install a new one in your Dell PowerEdge R230. So first things first, you're going to grab this Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to go ahead and start unscrewing the heatsink from the motherboard. So we're just going to be as gentle as possible so that way we don't strip any screws. Typically for bulk orders, we use the electric screwdriver so that way we can save some time, but personally I like using the manual screwdriver so that way you can actually feel the heatsink coming off of the motherboard. So all you have to do when you have that unscrewed is just go ahead and lift up that heatsink and set it to the side so that way we can clean it later. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this latch right here and just simply move it up, and it'll open up that socket for us. So now you can see the processor in the socket. So now all we got to do is go ahead and gently lift that processor up so that way we don't damage any of the pins in the socket. And we're going to go ahead and clean this old thermal paste off of it. Now, as you can see here, we have this old thermal paste on our processor. We're just going to go ahead and grab our clean rag. Just go ahead and start cleaning off this old paste off the processor. Typically, we like to do this on the side of the server so none of that old thermal paste flakes off and gets to the motherboard or the CPU pins, so that way we don't damage any of the pins or the motherboard. Could result in some errors farther down the line. You'd have to replace the motherboard or do some cleaning. That's just going to be a big headache. So just make sure you're cleaning all the old thermal paste to the side of the server and not over the server. Next, we're going to go ahead and clean this thermal paste off the heatsink. Same thing, grabbing this clean rag and just cleaning off all that old thermal paste, making sure it's all good to go. There we go. We're folding this up so that way we can clean it some more. Just making sure we get all that old thermal paste off the heatsink. And there you have it. So now we have a clean heatsink, and we're gonna go ahead and use it for our new processor. Now we're back into our server. We just got this new processor from our CPU tray. Important thing to point out, you're gonna go on and follow that triangle on the processor here to the triangle on the motherboard here. So whenever you're setting down, just make sure you're following those triangles. We're gonna set this down gently as possible so that way we're not damaging any of the pins on the socket, just making sure that it's all good. Next, we're going to take this new tube of thermal paste. We're going to uncap that. So now we're going to go ahead and place this latch down, and you're going to take this bar right here, just put it underneath that hook right there. And now the processor is secured to the socket, so we can go ahead and add this thermal paste to our processor. Now, typically this can start a war in the comment section about how much thermal paste is being applied to the processor. So it's really important to just find a nice even balance, because you don't want too much thermal paste or else it'll leak over to the side, get into the motherboard or that CPU socket, and it'll just be a big mess, and you might even have to replace that motherboard. So just make sure you have that nice even balance of thermal paste on the processor. We're gonna go ahead and take this heatsink that we have. We're gonna make sure that these screws right here match with these spots right here, and that's gonna tell you how to properly put that heatsink on. As you can see, those screw holes are put to more of the right side of the heatsink when you're turning it upside down. So that'll help you guide to where you need to actually put it, because you can see this rectangle spot of where the heatsink should actually sit. So you're gonna go ahead and place that heatsink on top. We're going to go ahead and screw this heatsink onto the motherboard, just one at a time, being gently as possible so that we're not stripping any of the screws. All right, just one at a time. Here we go. And as you can see, this sticker right here shows you how the airflow should be going, so that will also help you determine how to put the heatsink back onto the motherboard. But other than that, there you go. Now you've installed a new processor into your Dell PowerEdge R230 server. Hey, do us a favor, click that like and smash the subscribe. And if you're looking for any custom built 13th gen servers, maybe you're looking for a 14th gen, 15th gen, 16th gen, hey, maybe even the newer 17th gen servers, we do it all. We have both new and refurbished servers from HPE, Supermicro, IBM, Cisco, you name it. So just go ahead and give us a call or email us at sales@cloudninjas.com. That's sales@cloudninjas.com. Anyways, guys, thanks for stopping by.